Jay going to join us through
David J should be trying
remotely? Yeah, and it worked okay?
Yeah.
Good. I may need that somewhere down the road myself, so
Yeah, it's,
fairly easy, I think.
yeah, you just click on the link and say join us.
There's a little bit of a lag.
Yeah, and it worked okay?
Yeah.
Good. I may need that somewhere down the road myself, so.
There's a little bit of a lag.
You'll see.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
And I hear you loud and clear from here.
Okay. Okay, now that we have David, okay, like to call this meeting to order.
Can you hear me?
please? We can hear you loud and clear. And we have a bit of a
I hear
delay
you
on
loud
the
and clear
voice
from
box
here.
thing. Okay, you can find that out. Okay, so we are going to, it's a beautiful spring day and welcome to everybody. Now that we have David coming on out and we're gonna call this meeting to order.
Can you hear me?
please? We can hear you loud and clear. And we have a lot of feedback. One of those things needs to be muted. Find that out. Okay, so we are going to, it's a beautiful spring day and there we go. Technology's awesome, isn't it? We're gonna start off. Bob's gonna pray for us and give us an opening prayer, and Katie, if you don't mind, will lead us in the pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day and for this opportunity that we have to assemble and to take the matters and the affairs of this city at hand and deal with them. And we ask you to bless us and to guide us and to inspire us to make correct and righteous decisions and to do good for the people of this city. We ask you to be with us at all times and to just help us each day, and especially this evening. And we thank thee for this opportunity, and we say these things in the name of thy son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise and repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Katie. First item on comments and reports is we're first going to introduce Madison, our local administrative advisor. So Madison, please come up and introduce yourself. This is the council. Here's the microphone right up here on the, oh, sure. We got homework. Thank you.
You doing okay?
Thank you so much for your time. And I will only take a couple of minutes because I know you have a lot on your agenda. So I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Madison Aviles. I work for Wasatch Front Regional Council. And I'm here today to talk about the Local Administrative Advisor Program. It's a program that's available to Farr West, and Farr West is already utilizing through the Utah League of Cities and Towns through a partnership that they created back in 2023 during the legislative session. So during that legislative session, the Utah League of Cities and Towns recognized that there was a need for statewide administrative assistance to small cities and towns, metro townships, soon-to-be municipalities, and a handful of counties. So they identified about 150 municipalities statewide that did not have city administrators or city managers in place, recognized additional legislative mandates, and a whole lot of work that seems to be growing year after year for our small communities. And so they developed what's called the Local Administrative Advisor Program, the LAA program, and it's housed in each of the state's 7 AOGs, Association of Government. So Wasatch Front Regional Council is your association of government, and I am the LAA for the service region. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I can do and basically what the program is and how it's available to Farr West to utilize. So basically it was created to help small communities navigate legislative demands and build capacity to ensure the well-being of all small communities statewide. I work specifically with 15 communities right now in the WFRC service region. And one county, so Morgan County, and then I've got a handful of towns and cities within our region. So it's really neat. I've been with WFRC since January, so I've had an opportunity now to meet with all 15 of the eligible communities. To be an eligible community, you've got to have less than 10,000 residents, and you can't have a city manager or administrator in place. And so, you know, in the middle section of this info sheet, I have some project examples of what I can work on. I joke that I never do the same thing twice. I do a lot of different things. I wear a lot of different hats. And it's really neat because a lot of the work that I do is sharing best practices between all of the small communities. So once I create a purchasing policy for one community like Stockton, I can then have a great usable template that's up to code and perfect for all of the other communities to utilize as well. So I've been working on projects like personnel policies, HR advising, some land use questions like Farr West had. I kind of do it all, and if I don't know how to do it, I can certainly help connect you to the right resources. Another example would be some like grant eligibility or grant writing. So depending on the scope of work, I can help either connect you to grants or help you write those grants to obtain additional funding. And what I've been liking to tell the city councils and especially staff, you know, my experience working in local government, especially small local government, you have a lot of fires that pop up every day, and you fight a lot of fires, and you always have a dream or a wish list that maybe someday, if you had enough time, you'd get around to. I think what the league has envisioned and what WFRC hopes is that this position can help you accomplish some of those loftier, big, you know, long-range planning goals. So I am here as a resource for Farr West if you'd like to utilize the program. Obviously, it's at no cost to Farr West. This is part of an ongoing funding relationship that the league has established with the legislature. And so I'm looking forward to working with all the small communities here to answer any questions or talk more about the program if you had any additional questions.
Okay, thank you, Madison. Does anybody have any questions? I met Madison several times, both down at the League of Cities and Towns, and I see her quite often on the Wasatch Front Regional Council things, and comes to WACOG as well. So she's there quite often. So I think she's doing well. So any questions?
Madison was the one that I went to when we were hearing about the property on Cottonwood Drive, and used her, she assembled a team of staff in her office to kind of look at that proposal objectively and give us some recommendations. And so you were very helpful there. And so, and I gave her another assignment with that. So
I'm excited about that one.
we're gonna keep her busy.
Definitely. So, and it's great to see Mayor, I see you often. It's fantastic that you have, Far West is lucky to have such an engaged mayor that attends all of our meetings, and statewide regional meetings. I'm looking forward to going to the Utah League of Cities and Towns Conference. I'll be attending the Utah City Managers Conference before that. So hopefully taking a lot of that knowledge and bringing it back to our small communities, especially for those that don't attend. I think it's fantastic you have representatives that attend. So if you have any questions, you have my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me directly. If you have any questions, concerns, you just need an ear or need some advice, I am happy to help.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hey, you can hang out if you want to, or I'm sure you've had a long day. So. Okay, thanks. Okay, next on the agenda is public comments. Okay, public comments, these are comments. This is not a public hearing, so I know lots of people want to talk about stuff. We've already had some public hearings, but this is a time when you can communicate and reach out to your city council here on almost every item you'd like to. So are there any public comments? Now's your moment. Okay, moving on. Report from Planning Commission. Lyle? Just use the mic, or are you coming up? Okay.
Makes me more nervous. Planning Commission met last Thursday, March 14th at 5:30. We had a work session at 5:30 to discuss the request to amend the general plan to allow for the M1 zone at 8686 West and 1712 Far West Drive. It was to discuss the amended general plan from R115 to M1. Then we had the report from the city council. There was no public comments. And then we got into this. We had one business item, and it was to make a recommendation to the city council to approve or deny the request of to amend the general plan for discussion from the work session. And we had a unanimous vote, no questions whatsoever, that it was voted on to deny that request. And then we reported on the assignments and closed the meeting. Now, do you have any assignments for us? Oh.
That's the next thing on the agenda.
Oh.
Any questions on this for Vice Chair Lyle?
Okay, just to let you guys know what we're doing this next
Yes,
week
that'd be
is
good.
we are going to be working on we're just wrapping up the revision of the C2. At the same time, we're going to be looking into the revision, or just to kind of looking into creating a flex zone, so to speak, for commercial. So that's going to be our work session for next Thursday.
Hey, do we have any other assignments we want to overload these guys with?
No, I think let them get working on that one first.
Okay,
Hey, one thing at a time. Thank you, Lyle.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that took care of A and consent items. Next thing is consider approval of minutes dated March 7th, 2024.
Approve the minutes for March 7th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, Tim and Katie, our motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. No nays. Okay, I'm looking at you, David, just in case you want to use a thumb for yeses and nos, so we don't get the feedback. I think that was in the affirmative. Okay, consider approval of bills dated March 20th, 2024.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and second by Katie and Bob. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. We got an affirmative from David J. So both unanimous. Okay, thanks. Moving on. Business items, consider approval of business licenses, True Green Limited Partnership Solicitor's License. Is there a representative from True Green? I guess I could guess from your hoodie.
I thought I'd make it easy for you.
Okay, thank you. Just
My name's Sarah.
introduce yourself and say
Yep.
what's going on.
I'm Sarah. I'm the branch sales manager for our Ogden location. We have not had a sales team since just before COVID had happened. So we've got a lot of our own employees who live in Far West and a lot of customers reaching out for help recently. So with the uptick in leads coming in, we would like to come out and knock the community and offer our assistance.
Okay, any questions of the applicant?
You mentioned sales.
Mhm.
Are you also going to do applications and
Yes, so we are lawn care, tree care, pest control. So my team goes out door to door and sells what we offer. And then our technicians will go and treat whatever we sell.
And I guess my question is going to be, do you have chemicals that you're going to store, or are they going to be off-site and brought in?
Everything's off-site, so everything comes in on our trucks. They're mixed in a tank that's applied individually to whatever properties are sold.
In reviewing the application, I don't have any issues, except there's one individual that does have a criminal record, and I don't feel comfortable approving a solicitor license for that individual, but the others that are on the application, I would feel comfortable approving. I think that's within the scope of under the issuance code that we have, that we can select to deny that particular application and approve the rest of them. But I have concerns about the one particular individual in there.
And if I can, on that person's background, it was a alcohol infraction while driving. He is in recovery for that. We monitor that very closely. We've gone through this with other cities as well, and we haven't had any issues. If that's something you guys feel the need to do at that time, and maybe reconsider later, we can, we're okay with that too. But I just want to let you know, he is in recovery for that. We've provided proof to other cities on what he's doing to make sure that's not an issue going forward, but we are very on top of that.
Or able to go forward, will he be on a probation or supervisory? Will he work with somebody until he gets out of his?
So it's something that I monitor very closely, so I'm out with my team, knocking doors. There is times where he will be on his own, but they are on GPS monitoring, all of that. He also has a alcohol device in his car. So before he even drives anywhere, it takes the breath and makes sure he is sober.
I just have a hard time with the proximity to when the incident happened was November of just 23. And so I like your suggestion that, as things go on, we could maybe reevaluate adding the him, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay,
And that's okay. I have other people that'll be coming on that can take place for his license too. And we'll be adding some others, so we can put him elsewhere and then maybe reconvene beginning of next year and see how you guys feel.
Okay, one thing I'd like to make clear is, since this is door-to-door soliciting, you know how folks sometimes feel about that. One thing we really want to ensure is if there's a no soliciting license, just respect that and move on.
So the state allows us to hang a flyer but not knock. Each city is different, so we abide by whatever the city says. If they tell us not even to touch the door, then we don't. If there's somebody outside, we'll approach, say hello, let them know why we're in the area, and then move on, so they at least know why we're out. But if it's purely no soliciting, then we just don't even touch the door.
Our code reads that if there is a posted no soliciting or no trespassing sign, that the solicitor is not authorized to enter onto that private property.
Okay, and we can follow that.
And then I just want to also remind you that soliciting is the other in the code is soliciting is prohibited between 8 p.m. and 9 o'clock a.m.
And we are licensed individuals by the Department of Ag, so we go through rigorous testing and 400 hours of training and everything. So we're not just out selling something and don't know what it is, what it's going to do, and how it's going to react with our environment. So that's something that if you guys request a copy of that as well, we do have our Department of Ag licenses for anyone that will be in the area knocking.
Well, and I appreciate you going through the official channels to do
Yes,
this
but
too.
I'm gonna say thank you for that because there have been some that just knock.
Yep,
So, no, we really appreciate doing it right is always important.
that's our goal. We make sure to go to every municipality and make sure we're 100% above board.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Liam, if I was to make a motion, but exclude that one, I don't want to say him by name. How would it be best to do that?
You could make a motion to approve all the licenses excluding the one with a criminal background. That'll be noted in there, in the record it already is, that there's a criminal history existing for that individual. So just a motion to approve all of them and exclude the one with the criminal history record.
I will make a motion that we approve the 3 solicitor licenses and exclude for True Green and exclude the solicitor license for the individual with a criminal record.
Second your motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Katie and Bob in that order. We'll do this roll call. Bob?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Tim? David? That's an affirmative from David. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you and congratulations. Just come in the morning and we'll be able to get you some of your stuff. Okay.
Thanks for the thorough presentation though,
Yes,
by the way.
absolutely.
Yes.
I appreciate you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, next item. Consider the request to amend the general plan to allow the M1 zone at 1686 West 1712. There's 2 west on Far West Drive, Steve Barrow. So I want to go over something very quickly so that we all understand. We're amending, this is a potential amending of the general plan. It's a legislative decision by the city council with consideration of the planning commission's recommendation, public input, which they had a public hearing, public input, and the applicant. It will take 3 yes votes to amend the plan. We will conduct this professionally, and anyone who wishes to speak will need to be recognized by me. And when we entertain a motion to amend the general plan, or we could table and we'll do a roll call vote. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and allow Steve, if he's here. He's not here. So there's nothing for them to present. Does the council want to have a consideration or go ahead and make a motion?
I'll make a motion. If there's
Okay.
no discussion. Are you okay with that? Okay. I'll make a motion that we deny the request to amend the general plan to allow the M1 zone at 1686 West. And is that supposed to be 1712 North? Or is it supposed to be 2 wests?
Oh, it's 2 west on Far West Drive.
Okay,
It's,
so that's the 2 parcels, okay.
we're so used to doing north and west is kind of,
1686 West and 1712 West, Far West Drive.
we have a motion
Second.
and a second by Tim. We're going to do this roll call, and to be clear, an affirmative on this is the denial of the amendment to the general plan. So Tim, Katie,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
David. That's a thumb up. So it's unanimous. Okay. Moving on. Consider approval of resolution 2024-02 approving the municipal wastewater planning survey. David, will you
Good
please?
afternoon. I'm Dave Anderson. I'm here representing our West City sewer program. So this is a municipal wastewater sewer program. It's an annual report that it's a self-assessment report that we send to the state, and the state compiles and sends to the government, the big government. It's to, now, let me coach that. Did anybody even get anything in your packet?
I got the attachment in my email.
A spreadsheet form?
Yes.
I apologize for that. That is my fault. We inadvertently sent it to him early and can't retrieve it. So that's what he was able to send back to us. So, and he, as of now, he has not sent us until it gets filed with the federal government. It can't come back. Is there any questions?
Had a couple.
Sure.
For you. By the way, great work on that. That was, looks like it's a doozy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Help with
redundancy.
Cody. Cody's helps with the financial and
Couple of the things that get brought to my attention, it looks like the last time we updated our capital facilities plan was in 2015.
Correct.
Is it time that we look to allocating some funding or finding some grant funding to update that plan?
It's a paperwork form. We build it from scratch for us to represent us. We could take that form and we could tweak it and put it in front of the council again and put a new, re-adopt it. I think that'd probably be wise, Katie, I really do.
Okay.
Just so it shows we're, and that's the whole point of the program, to show we're being proactive, we know what we're doing, and yes, we're gonna be responsible.
Okay, I think, and I don't know what goes into updating that and what kind of, professional support we need from that. So, I mean, if you could kind of maybe look into that and get back to us to what would it take to get that updated. And then I noticed that we've got some pretty big price tags on some proposed capital improvements on our horizon.
Which is shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean.
it's one of those things, how do you know? How do you know?
And this may be more applicable to Cody, but what is our strategy for planning and preparing for these capital expenditures? What's our kind of game plan?
Sure. I would say that's where it's so important that we review our rate regularly.
Okay.
And then we make sure we're funding our depreciation, because as we're doing that, then in theory, we're at least covering the cost of the pipe when we originally put it into the ground, right? Like how much is it gonna cost when we actually have to replace it? And is that in 10 years? Is that in 25 years? We don't for sure know. But as long as we keep reviewing that rate and making sure that that we're making a profit and we're funding our depreciation, we should be at least setting aside some money for that. And I would say with some of the changes with Central Weber, hopefully going forward, like some of our costs aren't as big as they could be or they would be for other cities. I mean, they could still be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
One thing we can be absolutely sure of, it'll always get more expensive.
For sure. Yeah, it's never going down.
I've never seen it go down.
No. No, and
Personally, I would rather see a little bit of an overestimate to be sure we're covered, rather than all of a sudden we're run short of funds and we can't do the projects that are important to get done. So I do
As
appreciate
far as
that.
funding, like I said, a self-assessment report where we're saying it's like potentially it could cost us this. I don't know where the money come from. I honestly, where would the money come from? But it's something that we can look at and try to assess now before it happens, if it happens.
Well, and I feel comfortable with, with that response that what we're collecting, and I think that's great. And then the other thing I noticed is that and this is kind of a sidebar, but it asks about an emergency preparedness plan, and that we don't have one. And I wonder if that would be something that we could put cert on.
It could go down a certain path. Yes, it could. Yep.
If that would be
We
appropriate.
do follow a protocol. Is it in writing? No, it's not documented in writing and stamped, but we do have a
If something
protocol.
would happen today, what would your recourse be?
Depends, assess the situation, what it is, how many people, what can we do, what kind of help we need. Would it be a countywide or be some outside resource that would be large equipment type resource? And that's all on our onus to do, which is okay. As far as creating a budget or as putting money aside, I'm not sure how we would actually do that and keep it active. That's
Well, and
the hard part.
I don't necessarily think requires any budget, but just if, as long as it's something that, all I was thinking of something incorporated into our larger emergency preparedness plan so that it was like, okay, we've got this, we know how to,
I think that'd be wise. It would be beneficial.
and if CERT can act as,
We can help coordinate it, the certain program can help coordinate it, if it's gonna be your personnel that are actually going to do the response
yeah.
with the augmentation of the CERT group. But we can help you develop the plan, put it in place and put it under the CERT umbrella. That's easy.
Yep, and I think,
Sounds easy, but
I think that's what they need, so.
That would allow you to make that, check that box off on this next survey next year.
want to, we can even go as far as to do an exercise of what if. And just think through, are we prepared from the CERT mental perspective?
I think that's CERT earn its budget.
What budget?
Right?
We'll ask for that shortly.
Yeah,
That's later on the.
one item at a time here.
Dave, I have a couple of questions for you. All the boxes weren't filled. We understand that. Is there any way to do a revision, or is it one shot a year? So could we update it?
Where we can. And like I say, this is all us. So as long as we do our due diligence and send it to the EPA, the federal government, that's all they require, but that's the minimum. I think that the whole point of it, in my take, is it's getting the communities, or for us, a system operator, to just like, this is, this is your health for your community. Take it serious. Things happen. It's like, a lot of times it's just a fly-by-night type thing, and it's like, it's going downhill, and we're good with that, so.
I started thinking about some of the things that could happen when you, in your report, you said there was one auger or one piercing. It could have been much worse.
We had one here last year, last summer,
So
Yeah.
it could be significant.
which is that's a prime example of the protocol we follow.
Could that become a biohazard?
Mhm.
Be prepared for that as a city, or do we need the county to come in and orchestrate for us? That's part of the plan. We'll evolve. Okay.
It'd be good to put it on paper and update our call list, I should say.
At this point, I think I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-02, which is the approval of the municipal wastewater planning survey. It's in, we have things.
It's in, so this will get emailed to him, and that number he will write it in for us.
Forward and make it better. So there's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion,
I'll second the motion.
and Tim is the second. Okay, we'll do this roll call because it is a resolution. I'm going to start with David. That's a good. I know. Okay, well, for this,
It's probably a good idea.
the thumb is good until we want him to speak. Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Katie,
Aye.
Tim. Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, next item, consider approval of resolution number 2024-03, approving the Farr West City website privacy policy. So Liam, would you like to kind of fill us in on what this is and why?
Cody forwarded an email from the state of Utah indicating that the state was auditing local governmental entities throughout the state to make sure they're in compliance with a section of Utah Code 63D Chapter 2, which requires that all government entities who operate a website have a privacy policy that accompanies that website. And so we haven't received a notice of non-compliance that I'm aware of, but we just got ahead of it because lots of entities had been receiving notices. So we went ahead and created a privacy policy, and in real simple terms, all it does is just say, hey, we don't collect information that we don't have to, very minimal amounts. We don't disclose that information to other third parties unless we have to. We protect your information, and if you're concerned about it, you can ask us what information we have, and you can ask to have your information erased, essentially.
And that notice can be as simple as a link on our website so they can read that.
Yes, yes. Lindsay, somebody will need to create that link and have that on the website.
I think she's all prepared to do that, but
I think
we thought
she is.
wait until we have an approved document to attach to it.
Yep, but that's the gist of it.
Okay, any questions?
I do. Personal privacy data, people's personal data, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, things of that nature. Are they encompassed in this at all?
So if they were to submit that information through our webpage and somehow, then it would be encompassed in this.
It's not in our webpage, but I think we need, as a city council, to protect ourselves because we have been exposed to some personal privacy data, and I don't know how we address it.
I don't think there's anywhere within our website that we're asking for them to share that data through the platform that we operate.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if we're not asking for that information, we're not collecting it, which is better for us to not be in that situation if we can avoid it.
It was just a data slip. It wasn't on our website. So
Okay.
it's good.
Okay.
I just want to protect ourselves in case we come across it.
Absolutely.
If we don't have any data, we can't leak it.
We'll stay out of that business, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, any motions?
I'll move that we approve the resolution number 2024-03, approving the Far West City website privacy policy.
Second?
Okay, Tim and Katie are motion second. Tim?
Aye.
Katie? Bob?
Aye.
David? You only get one, but yes, that's in the affirmative, so that will work. So unanimous. Thank you. Okay, see, there he is right there, ready and raring to go. So our next discussion action is about budget and upcoming budget work sessions. I asked Cody to come and basically fill us all in and I wanted him to basically talk to us as if we know nothing. Because we have at least 3 new people and some of us old people need reminding. So take it away, Cody.
So, and we can talk in as much detail as you'd like tonight. If you want, we can pull up a few things and we can look at it, or we can just talk hypotheticals. A few things that we do need to talk about that we've talked about in the past is obviously each year we need to look at our property tax and see if there's a reason that we need to go through truth and taxation and increase that property tax. Historically, with that, it's been a significant amount of time since we've done that. Obviously, there's good reasons to do that, and there's bad reasons to do that, right?
For 10 years.
Yeah, as a resident, like it's nice to keep our property taxes low, but if we need that to meet our funding, then that's important. Some of the other things that we probably need to look at this year, one of the things that the mayor and Public Works would like us to look at is like a transportation utility fee. There's good and bads to doing that as well. That's something the state doesn't really like, and especially the state auditor's office. And there's reasons why associated with that. And we can talk about that in more detail tonight if you want, or we can do that at a budget work session, whatever you'd like. Another thing I think we should look at, especially if we're looking at a TAF, would be like a transportation impact fee. That would require a whole new study, and we'd have to see what we could even charge. But the nice thing about that is then we're charging, if a lot of the costs associated with infrastructure and roads within the city is largely due to new development, then by implementing a transportation utility fee, an impact fee, we're charging the new growth, right? Where if we just implement a TAF, we're charging all the current residents and businesses of the city. And so we could look at doing one or the other or both or some kind of combination therein with a strategy. Like maybe if we do a transportation impact fee, maybe we're able to do, or road impact fee, whatever you want to call it, or then maybe we could do a lower TAF because we're going to fund those things in both regards. And so we can look at all those things. Usually what we've done in the past, I've started talking with some of the public works, usually following the tentative budget. We would review that with you guys. It's good if we have a meeting prior to that so that we can go through some of those things. And if there's things you guys would like to do, such as a CERT budget, that I know about that and we can include it in the tentative budget. So it's kind of up to you guys what you'd like to talk about, if you want to talk about it tonight, or ideally we could do that in a couple work sessions. Last year we did those a lot of times before city council meeting, would just meet like an hour before and go over some of those items. So it's up to you. I don't know if you have any questions. If you want to talk about property taxes for a minute, we can pull up a couple things just so you can start thinking about it and look at it. It's kind of up to you guys.
What are our sales tax revenues looking like? Are they kind of plateauing or?
So the last time I looked at them close, we were still seeing some growth. You know, like it's kind of a weird market right now, right? Because there's so much inflation that some cities are seeing where like their sales tax are actually starting to go down. And other cities are seeing where they're still going. The one good thing for us is we do have businesses in the city, but if you remember, sales tax is allocated 50% based upon the point of sale, 50% based upon population. So we get a lot of money from, or not a lot of money, but we get some of our sales tax from population. And so that provides some smoothing, like as long as there's spending occurring in the state, we still get that. But we've been doing pretty good on our sales tax. Any other questions? Do you want to look at property taxes tonight? We can talk about it. I mean, it's interesting to look at. Like Lou talked to me about it in regards to their discussion a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to put together some numbers from them. It's really interesting. Our property tax rates are really low, and so we just charge. The city only gains like $100, a couple $100 from.
The average actually went down to about $107 per resident as an average.
Yep.
Per year.
Per year. And so we really don't collect very much. And what we've talked about in the past is, and I don't know if the sheriff's office has updated it, but last time I heard a statistic from them, it was about $250 per call. So if every new home in the city called the sheriff's department once during the year, in theory, we would be in the hole about $140 on every call. Usually it's like GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and they usually recommend that your property tax are sufficient, that they cover your public safety costs. Ours don't. It's about half, which is okay. You know, like we get money other ways, and that's part of the reason we implemented a franchise tax or a franchise fee a few years ago to help cover some of those increasing costs. And so far it's been doing well for us. And it's nice money too, because it's unrestricted like our sales tax and our property tax. So we can use that to cover some of our funding. So it's kind of up to you guys. If you want to talk tonight, that's great. If you want to wait till we have our other members here, if we want to schedule a work session, that's great too.
Like to schedule a work session, but I would also like to explore this tough and TIF a little more in depth. And so, yeah, any information that we can get to. You're always good at sending us stuff to get us up to speed. So any resources you could send our way so we could talk about that would be great.
And some of like that.
To a meeting that would give us an opportunity to get our questions in.
For sure. And we can, I don't believe we updated our TUF, right? We have the one from like 18 or 19. So we can send you that. We don't have anything on the transportation and impact fee. We'd probably need you guys to tell us, like, give us some money that then Public Works could work on. Like basically it'd end up being a capital facilities plan associated with some of that.
Just understanding how those work and kind of what is entailed with each of those and how they can, you know, how they can be spent would be helpful.
Yeah, because we have a lot of potential road projects, not only maintenance of what we have, but some connectivity of what we don't. We don't have some connectivity, and we can go for grants and all those kinds of things. But the one thing about grants that I've found out over the years is they really want you to have skin in the game. I want to know where our skin's coming from. And if we have skin dedicated to transportation and roads, then that helps us get there. So we can say, we need to widen this road and we can put out up this much. That's what I've seen from the other communities that are doing these things. If we want to put in a bridge, how are we going to pay for that? If we're going to widen this, we're going to create a whole new connection through a certain area that we don't have today. How are we going to do that? And, you know, they really want to know that, you know, we're going to participate, and that's
for sure. For sure. And so like some matching funds, and we can look at all of that. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Would you like to look, would you like me to provide some information on property taxes, just so you know where we're at and those kind of things? It actually kind of surprised me. I don't know if it surprised Lou, like when we looked at what we generate from M1 versus residential. Our residential, depending on the assessed value and how many houses there are per acre, we actually generated more property tax per acre from our residential than we did our M1.
Yeah, so just a quick brief, if you don't mind, of property tax. Why don't you start with property taxes in general, because it's a weird thing. I mean,
It's a weird thing.
it's basically an amount and then there's some weird math.
There is some weird math. Yeah, there is. So that's what I'll plan on for next time, is we'll do a brief overview of property taxes. We'll send you that tough information, and then we can talk about the TIF and some of that.
What was last year's property tax amount?
I would have to look.
Wasn't it somewhere in the 300?
Yes, usually it's like 340 is what I had in mind, but it could be 380.
I think there was a 4 in there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
So in our budget, we're counting on $340,000
From property
from
tax.
property tax.
Which really isn't that much.
No, it's not that much. And the thing that's hard here, and we can look at that too, and this is something we did the last couple of years, is like some cities, like bigger cities like Roy and Ogden and Riverdale and those guys, they provide their own police and their own fire. So if you look at us, we don't, right? We outsource those things, or we have Weber Fire District. So we can look at that combined as well, because Weber Fire District actually charges all of us, like, I think it's double or triple what our city property tax rate is. And it's just because fire service is expensive. So it's hard to be like apples to apples without like making some adjustments. And we can look at all that stuff. That's really easy.
Trying to understand it all is very strange, because I think for the most part, we all actually pay more per year for libraries than we do towards the city.
Yep, most definitely. Yep, this city's a screaming deal. Like
It is,
like,
and we're proud of that. We want to keep that.
yeah.
We've also got to make sure we're taking care of things.
For sure. And that's where it's
The
important.
balance.
We usually try to review the impact, or not the impact fees, the utility fees with the tentative budget. And what we've done the last few years is tried to pass through any increases. So like with our sewer, when Central Weaver goes up, we try to pass that increase on so that we're maintaining and we're keeping that level up. But we can look at that and see if that's sufficient and those things. Some of that with the capital improvement and capital facilities plan, it's a little hard. Usually those are tied to impact fees, right? And we don't have a sewer impact fee anymore. So that's why it hasn't been updated. We can still do that plan, or we can try and do something. We may not have to do something that formal, but we could have Jones and Associates put together something. So we just kind of have an idea what's out there, even if it's just like a price per foot. So we kind of knew what that would cost. So.
And then just one last thing, and I don't know how we'll handle this, but so we got the grant for the half of the Mountain View Park, the new one, and we're putting in for another grant for the other half of it, but contingent upon that second grant approval, we would either need to find additional grant funding to cover that cost and get that match, or have some additional funding from our budget to put in there. So I don't know what the best way to deal with that is. I know with our ramp funding, we do have, I think, 24 months, 2 years to expend it. So maybe not this, we don't build in that contingency this year, and kind of, if we don't get that second grant, spend the next year looking for that match. I don't know, whatever your recommendation is.
And we can talk about that. That's easy to talk about that too. Like we could talk about that and have a plan, and maybe we could even apply 2 years, right? We could apply next year and then the following year. And then if we don't get it, have some money in there the second year that we could just do it on our own.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing us not just review the next budget, but maybe get some ideas of what we're going to anticipate in upcoming years. Maybe look out 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, for sure. We can do that.
Okay.
So yeah, I believe your next city council meeting is April 4th, and the one after that would be the 18th. I don't know if you have any work sessions scheduled for either of those nights, if you'd like to do it just before the regular.
Mayor and I will be in St. George.
Okay. And
April 4th would be the best one, and the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
If you can prepare for it, that would be
Yep,
better.
that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, we can make that work.
I'd
So
rather meet more often and earlier because, last thing we want to do is get right up against the deadline going, we got to pass them.
for sure. And we,
The May,
what?
first meeting in May?
That's the tentative budget. But we really don't have to have stuff finalized until the second meeting in June. So we still have,
You're like
we still have time.
right away.
Yeah.
It comes.
Yeah,
fast.
it does come fast, but we're okay too.
I mean,
So-
it's already April next week, right?
For sure, for
Almost.
sure. Yep, totally. It goes fast. So if you would like to meet on the 4th, that's great. That should work for me.
Okay.
Whatever you'd like to do. And I guess I can
5:30?
probably meet whenever you'd like. I can meet anytime after 5. So,
Good for David.
so you,
David, 5:30 on the 4th of April. After a long process, we got to a thumb. Thank you, David. And we need to try to be patient with our technology and unmute him at some point, because I'm sure he has something to say.
any other questions before I go sit down?
Yeah, anything else?
I think I'm good.
Okay, so, basically, we've tentatively, thank you, Cody. So, our action would be to set a budget work session for April 4th at 5:30. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we set a work session to discuss the budget, on April 4th at 5:30.
Second the motion.
Okay, Katie, Bob, motion second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? There's a thumb. Thank you. All right, passes unanimously. Okay, on to the fun stuff that we all love to do, our council follow-ups. Let's see if we can get David unmuted.
Yeah.
Okay, unmute yourself if you can, David.
I am unmuted.
We can hear you now. So go ahead with your report and we'll just listen.
We've been pretty busy the last couple of weeks. We've had meetings with 2 different developers in the city, one with potential economic project up off of 2700 North. And then, of course, this one with River Blacksmith over behind the Peterson property. Those were productive meetings. And the one up north, which we can't really give a lot of detail on at this point, however, has some very positive potential movement at this point. And I'll just leave it at that. Mayor, if you want to say more about it, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay, thank you.
I've also met with Roberta Hudson over in the senior center. And we've talked a little bit about some of what they're doing there. I delivered a whole boatload of jigsaw puzzles for her to keep people occupied with. She knows that she can contact me if there's something she's in need of, and I'll see that we bring it to the city. Of course, she's right down the hall. It's easy sometimes just flag the mayor. But I don't know if there's something else I need to mention right now. I'm trying to think. I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, that it, Dave?
I think that's it.
Okay.
David, is there anything that senior citizens are in need of right now that they're short of?
No, not that I know of. When they have a dinner night like they do periodically, I believe it would be in our best interest to be there to help with that. They don't do it quite the way we used to. There's no barbecue grills and stuff outside the door. And most of this now they have catered in. And so Roberta didn't seem to mention anything directly that she's in need of right now. Everything seems to be running pretty well. So I don't have much else to add to that. She hasn't requested anything.
Thanks. Okay, we're gonna put you back on mute, just in case. Thank you. Okay, Bob, what you got?
Okay, Not a lot this time. The Central Weaver Sewer Improvement District meeting was held on Monday. It was a really short meeting. We did some resolutions for annexation of a new gas station and a couple other organizations into the county sewer system. We ratified the vouchers for the sewer district for the county. Everything went pretty well, really smooth, nothing outstanding. I attended the Weaver County CERT and Emergency Preparedness Telecom. They wanted to do it strictly by telecom on the first go, and it went rather well. It was kind of short in people participating, but Farr West was represented, so it was good. This one was faith-based oriented, where they're trying to reach out to the churches, and because I know a lot of the churches were using the block captain program. So if there's an emergency, go to your block captain. They realized over time, the block captain program doesn't work too well because people are usually at work, vacation, and there may not be an alternate. So the county is starting to move towards a rapid damage assessment program where the first people to show up at City Hall or wherever our central location is going to be, right here, you hand them instructions and send them on their way. So we need to get the CERT group to start to coordinate to that new philosophy and put our plan together. So I've reached back to Steve Welch and a couple other people, talked to Lou. We're trying to recover the documents that we had, the step-by-step instructions, revitalize them, organize them to the new mental philosophies, and put our program back into play. There is some budgetary requests coming for some equipment and radios to bolster this, but we still need to pare it down and make sure it's legitimate and rational.
Okay.
That's pretty much it for this session.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Katie.
James, we had a parks meeting on Monday and had a visitor that came presenting a concept for a disc golf, 9-hole disc golf course that would go in this complex here. He had a really solid proposal, and we're going to, he talked to us about ways of funding it independently so that the city wouldn't bear any of the costs, and give us a really good background on disc golf and its popularity. And so at our next parks meeting, we'll be discussing that just as a parks committee to see how we would like to move forward with that. Lyle has received 3 bids or 3 concepts for the inclusive playground that we would like to put out here in our civic center to replace the one that's there. Will be the focus of our major ask next year for ramp. So we'll be looking at those and kind of refining those concepts. And then
Love the proactiveness of that, by the way.
that guy, he's great. And then along with that, we heard back on our Land and Water Conservation Fund application for the Mountain View Playground. And Evan at the Outdoor Recreation looked it over and said, good, it looked great. He just had one suggestion on our budget, which Lyle updated and sent back to him today, and it will be forwarded on to the scoring committee.
They'll be scoring in 2 weeks.
Yep. So things are moving on. That's our other big chunk of the Mountain View Playground funding. And then I will be submitting 2 ramp easy grant applications tomorrow for the dugout at the Farr West Park over here. Some improvements there at the baseball field, and then our prizes for Freedom Festival.
Okay.
And the easy grants are for anything $2,000 and less. So if there's ever any of our recreation, arts, museums, parks that you could think would be a great use for that, just keep that in mind. Had a meeting with the Mosquito Abatement Board last week, and they wasn't much to report on. They said, but there will be in the coming months. So, and then also attended a board meeting for the communities that care, and they just mainly talked about some grant funding that they were going after to sustain the organization and the staffing there moving forward. And I think that's it.
Okay, our mosquitoes, there has been a couple sighted.
There has, funny enough, they talked about that and they said they're now overwintering. And those ones that you're seeing come out now are ones that have overwintered. They'll die off in the next couple of days, and then you'll see the new ones.
Wintered, that's a term.
Mhm.
Spring call will go away for a little while.
Yep. So they're like in woods and barns, and that's where you're seeing those ones
They
come.
made it through the winter,
They did.
basically.
Isn't that scary?
That's weird. Okay,
Mosquitoes.
okay, thank you. Tim,
To be honest with you, I don't have anything.
nothing at all?
Nope, I'm just supporting the planning commission. They're doing a great job and would like to recognize them for the efforts that they do. I certainly appreciate how much effort and work they do put in to what they're working on. Don't have anything else.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Okay, I have a couple of things. So I met with Weber Human Services on the senior centers in Weber County. I did that with Roberta. David was unable to attend that day, but there was a bunch of mayors there, so I showed up because I show up to meetings these days. They're talking about consolidating to 3 or 4 centers, Northview, Golden Hours, and Roy. I was in there trying to wondering how that applies to us, because we do not actually use Weber Human Services for our senior center. So we get Meals on Wheels, and that's about it. And that was not part of what their conversation is. They'll still provide that. So we'll find out some more about that. But one thing they were talking about, which worries me a little bit, is they want cities to pay a portion of their costs, which is kind of weird because we don't really use much of it. I think Riverdale has a similar situation. In Riverdale, there's a senior center, and they don't use any Weber Human Services either. It's like all self-contained and all that. So, but they're asking there as well. We don't use the services, but what they're saying is some of our residents go to other facilities. So that's why they say you need to pay up, because some of your residents are coming to Golden Hours or to Northview or whatever. So.
Tell them to send us a bill.
Hmm?
Tell them to send us a bill.
No, I don't want a bill. So.
When they figure out who's going there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They must figure out how they're doing
I'd like to know how they know that.
Maybe they fill in a role or something like that. But anyway, they seem to know this because they were basing things, but it was like, I'm saying, 4 to 5 at one and 3 over there. And I also know that some of the seniors, like they'll hit the lunch that we have here on Monday, and then they go somewhere else on Tuesday, wherever they can find food. They're just kind of roaming. So that's what they do.
Guests.
Huh?
They're all guests.
Yes. They pay their part, and they like to have fun. So anyway, had that meeting. We did have that meeting with Mayor Slaterville and Black Pine. We met with them with the United Front. So us and Mary Slaterville want to be a united front as cities with Black Pine, so that they understand and they quit playing us against each other type of thing. So we're tentatively going to go into an interlocal agreement, because this whole area needs to be done in unison with each other. So we'll have an interlocal agreement with Mary Slaterville on how that whole property down there develops and all that, and where we share the benefit and the burden. And there's also some possibilities of some PID. So that is still very much in the very basics of it all. And I don't know if they've reached out to you yet, Liam. Okay, so Bill did call you going, we're gonna start doing something, whatever that thing is. Also met with Bike Utah. They are updating our active transportation plan. They're doing that at no cost. That's why we like that, because they do it at no cost. We are giving them an advisory board, so we're gonna review what they update in our active transportation plan. They're gonna include members from our Farr City Active Transportation Committee, some from the county, the active transportation from the county, and Trails Foundation in Northern Utah. So there will be, input from multiple folks on how that plan goes forward. But they're actually very impressed with how we came up with ours and how we got input from the public and did it over time. I think we kind of teed it up pretty good for them, but it does need to be at least updated. It's good to keep things updated. Some of the stuff, today I attended a regional growth committee with Wasatch Front Regional Council. The regional growth committee is like a planning commission for the council of the Wasatch Front. Their next meeting is in May, and we went over quite a few things like get ready for a whole bunch of new acronyms having to do with land use updates. Yeah, so there's FIZs, HTRZs, HOPs, and IFDs. IFDs are infrastructure financing districts, and PIDs are a form of those having to do with public infrastructure. There's all the IFDs, a developer can basically bond and put in infrastructure. That's supposed to be a mechanism or a tool that they use to get infrastructure in. But I think they have to have it paid off before they get any certificate of occupancy. So there's some strings attached. Hops, I like this, at least how it sounds, because it sounds kind of, Easterish. But what it stands for is Home Ownership Promotion Zone. Kind of, this is the new thing, because in the legislature, they are really trying to promote, because they've done a really good job of saying we need lots of high density affordable housing. But what has happened throughout the state is most of it is rentals and apartments and all those other kinds of things. Not that those aren't needed, but they really want to change it over to the home ownership type of thing. So they have these zones that we can set up and consider in our housing stuff. There's in the HTRZs, that's housing and transit investment zones. I'm going to say that's more or less things that are around stationary plans, where we have some areas that could fit into that, like over there, like 2700 could fit into that a bit, because we're at least near a train station that, even though it's not running right now, will be someday, and that does count somewhat towards their housing and transit investments. So the other one is the FIZ, the FHIZ. That's the first home investment zone. It kind of sounds like the other one, but this is for first home buyers. So, and it's kind of funny because they said first time, I guess, but they haven't bought a home in 3 years. So I guess I don't know how that's their first home. I guess it's their first new home in 3 years type of thing, but they're supposed to be within the affordable range, and there's all sorts of rules and stuff to setting up those zones. But these are all tools and acronyms we get to consider as we go through our housing stuff. So off we go with that.
Most of that's come out of this recent legislation.
Yes, almost all of it has come out of what just finished up. I'm sure I've gone to several different land use updates in the last week. At Wasatch Front, there was another one, and I think there was also one with League of Cities and Towns. I think they also did something similar and explained those same acronyms, and they pretty much all say the same thing. So I guess it's good to listen to all of them and make sure one of them isn't pulling our legs. So that's most of the fun and exciting stuff, except for one last thing on here. There is an Easter scramble, also known as the Easter egg hunt, on March 30th.
Thanks for remembering.
So that's this next Saturday. We're gonna put candy. I asked, why is it called an Easter egg hunt? We don't hide any Easter eggs from anybody, so it's kind of hard to hunt for them. So it's more of a scramble. We're all set up and kind of ready to go, and that's always fun. It's the craziest
30 seconds.
30 seconds ever.
My kids call it the Easter race.
The Easter race. Okay, go out there and grab as much stuff. But you know what? They are really good. They pick up everything, including things that we didn't put out. So, for what it's worth. Any questions on any of all that stuff I dumped? I had a lot more I could, but the 2.5 hours of meeting today, I'm not going to go over it all. They talked about, a lot of things. Most of it not in our area, station area plans. Things are doing down at the point of the mountain, things are moving all over the place. But we do have one last item on the agenda.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Katie and Bob are motion and second. All in favor, say aye. And a thumb. We're adjourned. Thank you. Happy Easter. Thank you, David. I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah, yeah. You get busy in transportation.